rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you can be is just getting easier. My guest today is Eli Delaney. He's calling in from Portland, Oregon. Welcome, Eli.
Thank you, Beverly. It's my pleasure to come and join you today.
Well, it's an honor to have you here. It's going to be a fun show. So, tell our audience, what makes Eli tick? What does he do? Why does he do it? And how did he get started in it?
That's a big question. How many hours do we have on this show?
well, we can save some of it for another show. How's that?
Okay, that works. I've been in business for almost 25 years now. My previous business was a web and graphic design agency, and I started that from working in my dining room by myself. Opened up an office, had 5 employees, and we were closing 3 to 5 contracts a week, and doing really well. Then I ran into a situation where I really didn't enjoy having an office. I really didn't enjoy having to go to an office, and I really didn't enjoy my employees either. And kind of had to make a shift at that point, got into the training side of things and started teaching marketing skills and all that kind of stuff, and had a blast with it. I changed my entire world, became a speaker, and that's all led to what I've done now. We've been very successful in what we're doing in our business now, Purple Night Marketing, and we help speakers learn how to automate the things that they can so they can focus on the things that they can't, which are the relationship side. That's right there is what really makes me tick. I love the building of the relationships. I love figuring out how can we sit down, have a cup of coffee, and have a conversation to figure out how we can help each other grow. I've got a networking event that I run now every week on Wednesday evenings, and it's just all virtual. We have people from all over the country coming in and getting to know each other. How can we share, our knowledge, our expertise, and add value to each other to make it through anything that's going on in life?
Oh, that's amazing. That's great, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there and speakers and writers, that are like, okay, I have all this information, I want to get it out there, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
And then when you think you're doing it right, and you're out there posting like crazy, and then you got these little things called algorithms, and it's like, oh my gosh, and everything changes. It's like every day, every hour, something's changing on social media, right?
Yep.
And so you don't know who sees you and who doesn't, right? So it's, where do you go to find all that, and how do you do it? And oh my gosh, it starts filling your brain with all this crazy chatter, right? And then when you go out there and it doesn't happen, and you think you're doing it all right, and then you find somebody that says they're going to help you, and you pay them all this money, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what I'm talking about?
I've heard that story way too many times.
Do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, and it is devastating. I've been on both sides of the receiving and the giving end of that, and it's like, okay, so who do you trust? How do you know that they're going to actually do it all, and then do it right?
Yeah. Well, and I think you brought up a couple of really good things there. First and foremost, you don't know who you can trust. The only way you can do that is by starting the relationship,
Right.
figuring out, seeing what's going on, and partially going with your gut. Quite honestly, I've seen that a lot of times where I've been in that situation where my gut said, I'm not so sure about this. And, sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. Usually it was right. But here's the thing with it is, if you can go through, and so let me give you a real life example. I'm not going to say any names with this, but I had a partnership that I built with somebody where I was working with them on some stuff, and I knew up front there was just not completely lacking the sleeves in their part
Right.
at some point. But I looked at it as, this is an opportunity that I can get in front of some other people. And reality is, if I show up and I train, I teach, and I speak in front of these people and I help them out, I am adding value to that audience,
Right.
period. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what that person at the end of the day does. I know I added value, and I created that trust, and I created that relationship. And I've had those people that several of them have become clients. They're still clients of mine. And some of them I've had that where they're like, well, okay, that didn't work out very well. And some of them we've actually come back and said, you know what, that was a horrible experience, but you were the one thing that made it totally worth it. So thank you for being there. To me, that's a good win. And so I'll take it with that. Yeah, I take it with that. Now, the biggest thing that anybody has to do, doesn't matter what type of business you're in, doesn't matter if you're a speaker or not. If you're a speaker, this is more important though, is that your job is to stay in front of people, to let them know who you are, what you do, how you can help on an ongoing basis. It's not a one-time thing. And that's where a lot of people, especially speakers, think that they can go up on stage, they can speak, they can do their 45 minutes, come off a stage, and then, you know, they're making their sales, they're getting their clients, which is great. But guess what? That's just one connection. And there's going to be a lot of people that were not ready right then and there. So it's your job to stay in touch with them long-term.
Right.
Go for the goal, go for that long-term relationship. I have people who've actually come back and purchased from me literally 5 and 10 years after I first met them.
Oh, wow. You know, and again, if you have that relationship, you have that connection, and it doesn't have to be like an ongoing every day. It's just that you pop in every so often, they see you, whatever, and it's like, oh yeah. I got to remember this person, right? And oh gosh, and you probably do this too. You know, you probably had your emails or your phone texting, you know, just totally inundated, you know, 2 and 3 messages a day, and you're like, please stop this, just stop this. Like, you know, that's so irritating.
Yeah, well, and it's also the language that's used.
Yeah.
And I think that's really my specialty, is the language. And it's, how do you communicate with somebody? You can, even using automation. I love automation. Okay. I am the automated system strategist. That is actually my title. But the key is to automate the things you can, so you can focus on the relationship building, which is the stuff you can't. But you turn around, and even your automations, even the systems and processes that are using the software and the cool tools and technology we have, you need to give it that feel, and you need to stop and think about this, whether it's sending an email, sending a text, posting something on Facebook, it doesn't matter what it is. Stop and think about this. Is this something I would personally stop and send to Beverly?
Right.
Because if the answer is no, then go back and rewrite it. And so, you know, it's one thing. As a matter of fact, I just had a text come in yesterday about, hey, did you know about this webinar that I have going on?
And you're like, who is this? I know.
Exactly.
I get those all the time. I'm like, who is this?
Now, if it said, you know, hey, this is Eli, and I just wanted to check in with you. How are you doing? By the way, I sent you an email. Go check your email.
Right.
Now that's going to stand out.
Right.
And that's going to get a better response, because it sounded like I sent an email and then I picked up my phone and said, okay, I just sent you an email. Want to make sure that you got it.
Right. Well, and it's more personal because your name is in there, you know, and when you get these, and text messaging is getting big, and it's getting bigger and bigger, right?
Yep.
And who knows where they come from, whether they're a short code or a long code, you know, people need to know who it's from. You know, I'm getting these text messaging wanting me to sign up to buy this product, or to go over here to this and to go to that, and it's like, I don't know you. Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's using email or text or whatever. You gotta have the relationship first.
Right.
So one of the things that I work with our clients, and we focus on building that relationship. We talk about, don't just make it about, I have this thing going on, or I have this thing for sale. Check in with them, or just say, hey, I have this book that I read that I thought was awesome. I thought you might find value in it. Check it out. Here's why I like it so much. Let me know what you think.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
it's short, sweet, to the point, and you notice that there's no pitch. I'm not selling anything of my own. It's not about my book. It's about somebody else's book, for the
Right.
very simple reason that people know who I am. They know what I do. They know how I can help them. If somebody says, "Do you have a book?" I'm happy to share it with them. And there is a
Right.
time and a place for those kind of things. But if you inundate people with, "I just wanted to check in. I want to give you something of value. Here's something cool that I thought you might find useful," then they're going to start paying attention when you send them that, "Hey, we have a special going on right now."
Right.
Where otherwise, most people are coming in and they're doing it from a standpoint of inundating them with, "Buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff." And we become blind to it. We ignore it.
Right.
It does make a big, big difference. And you will get better open rates on emails. You'll get more responses. You'll get more replies, whether it's a text or an email. And even in your social media, posting stuff out there that elicits a conversation,
Right. It's
and not
always
just,
asking a good question,
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not about Brussels sprouts, yes or no. Those kind of questions, don't do it. They create engagement, but it's false engagement.
Yeah, some of
Right.
the stuff that comes across, you're like,
Hmm.
seriously? You're
I can
actually
always I can
saying
always
this?
tell, yeah, I can always tell when somebody just had a seminar, because 500 people post the same question, and it's hilarious, especially in real estate. It's great. I can always tell when people went through a real estate seminar, because all of a sudden, like,
Okay.
40 of the people that I know that are in the real estate industry all post the exact same question, like within an hour, and I'm like, somebody
They
went to
all went to
class.
the same seminar, right? That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you've got to make stuff that's you, that's your personality.
Well,
That's
yeah,
really a big piece.
and it actually should at least be relevant or closely
Hmm.
relevant to what it is that you do,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
posting results. You know,
Hmm.
people want to see outcomes, right?
Yeah.
And it's not always about the pain. It's
Hmm.
about the joy at the end of the tunnel, right?
Hmm.
And it's like that could be me. That that person gets me. They
Yeah.
understand where I'm coming from. It's like maybe I need to pay more attention here. What did she say like last week or what did he say yesterday? That I better go
Hmm.
back and listen to it, right?
Yeah. And it's really interesting you bring that up, because it's a conversation, and I actually been meaning to do a video on this, and this will bring me out to do this even more so, because there is there's a bunch of people right now, and I'm, it's more than I wish it was, that are using the pain and the, if you're not doing this, you're an idiot mindset.
You're right. Right.
And that's really coming out a lot, and it is a form of bullying, and I'm not a big fan of it. I come from a place of, you know what, here's something cool. I think it's working well for me. It's working for my clients. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
Right.
you know and that's always my personality anyway. I've always ran that way. I'm like, you know what, I got something cool, I know it's working. If you want to follow me, you want to do it, here's how we can do that. If you don't, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
whatever.
you give people the choice. People
Yeah.
want to have choices. They want
Yeah.
to buy, but they don't want to be sold, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't want that finger pointing at them, because again,
Hmm.
that takes you back when you were a kid and you were. Now
Hmm.
if you don't, right? It's
Yeah.
like wow, and it's that unconscious trigger that happens, right?
Yeah.
So again, like you said earlier, ask yourself, would I send this message to me?
Hmm.
Right? Is this the way I want to be spoken to?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And a lot of us are coaches, and sometimes there's a point for that, that tough love point,
Right.
but there's a place for that. And most of the time we're not in that place yet. There is a time
Yeah.
for it. I'm not going to disagree with that completely, but most of the time it is about giving people the confidence and the hope,
Right.
and coming from a place of hope first, I think, is what's really making the difference. And I see that a lot right now in what I'm doing in my business. I mentioned the networking event that we're doing, and I've really kept a positive standpoint, because so many people are in limbo right now. They're trying to figure out what's going on with
Oh,
the world.
so true, because it's like,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things going in people's minds now, because I'm hearing this coming back from
Hmm.
people that I've been interviewing and just from friends and even family members. Like, what's going to happen when they say, okay, let's go back to normal.
Right.
What's normal?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Normal is not going to be what we think it
No,
is.
not at
Yeah.
all. And it's like, wow. I mean, have you really sat down and thought about, okay,
Yeah.
now that you can go back to the outside world and you go and oh my gosh, you can go to the shopping mall because it's open
Hmm.
now, or you can go to the bowling alley, or you can go to the beauty shop, or you can go to the
Hmm.
spa, whatever. It's like, I think we're going to have a whole different um, appreciation
Hmm.
for the
I
things
hope
that are
so.
no longer there. And,
I
and,
really hope
and
so.
the
Yeah.
longer you're away from this, it's like, what am I missing? What was I missing out there? Because sometimes we get so busy being busy and busy that we don't
Hmm.
even realize what it is, those habitual things that we do every day that
Right.
are meaningless, really, right? So there's pros and cons on both sides. It's
Hmm.
where have we innerly grown to go out and face a new world here? And what is this new world going to be? How are you going to make your
Hmm.
new world exactly what you want it to be and leave some of that other stuff behind that you
Hmm.
thought was part of you that really isn't, right?
Right. I think that a couple of different things are going to happen with it. And I'm excited about the possibilities with it because
Right.
number one is we're going to see a difference in values.
I
I
hope
think we're going
so,
to
because
see, I
there's
hope so too. Yeah.
yeah.
Now I like my toys. I'm a materialist. I'm not a minimalist kind of person. So I like that freedom to have what I want and do what I want, when I want, how I want.
Right.
And that's an honor to be able to do that. But at the same time, that's also, I know for me personally, it's taught me what really is important. And for me, it's kind of cool because it has been the thing that has always been important, but it's become much more of a forefront, which is my whole movement, which is meeting cool people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that on a regular basis when I speak at events. It's not the speaking I love, but it's the okay, can I grab these 10 people and let's go have dinner and
Right.
break bread and get to know each other. That's what makes the difference. That's what I'm really there for. It's that relationship side. And I mean, that's one of the things that I miss the most is that environment. And that's why I like the meeting that I put together, that's given us a version of it. It's not the same, but it's as close as we can have right now.
Right.
But on top of that, for me, I have also gotten re-energized in an aspect of my mantra for 2020 has been no time for fear.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
And I've been using the hashtag no time for fear on stuff. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have a hashtag, which is awesome. But my girlfriend's like, oh, you're becoming insta famous. And I was like, but it's all fun. But here's the thing with it is that you're looking at, we don't know what's going to happen with what's
No,
going
we
on right
don't.
now.
We
We
don't.
don't. There's so much information. There's so much data out there, and most of it is false. We don't know what's really honestly true. And so I look at it of what's going on out here, I can't control,
Right.
but what's going on right here, I can.
That's right.
And so I have done anything and everything I can to shift to a point of I am behind the computer. I'm talking to people. I'm having Zoom calls. I'm signing up for more podcasts when I see somebody has a show. Like, I mean, I saw that you were saying, hey, I have a show and I've loved to have guests coming on. I immediately reached out to you about it
Right.
because that's a way for me to connect with more people and get out there. And the more we do that, what that does is that gets us, number one, it gets us the ability to share our expertise with more
Right.
people, which we should be doing anyway, but we've gotten lazy, right? So this is
Yep.
like reinvigorating the energy and the drive that we need to have. But then the second thing is it gives us the ability to have real communications, real conversations with people like you and I are having right now, and we need that. We need that to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if we can't meet at an event and say, oh, it's so awesome seeing you, and walk across the room and give you a big hug.
Right.
And I'm a
Exactly.
hugger, so that's one thing that's been driving me nuts. I don't have that capability, but this gives me something.
Right.
And there is so much opportunity right now that whatever happens comes about, this is the time to set the stage. This is the time to put the foundation in place. And then going back to what I do for a living is build the follow-up systems to stay in touch and keep those relationships going, because that is going to be what's going to keep you going now. And it's going to have you thriving and exploding like you would not believe once things get back to whatever we quote unquote call normal.
That is so true, and you really hit on several points out there in that connection, like you said. Being just doing this show, I have met some of the most amazing women out there, and the majority of my show has been women. I've only had, I think, prior to you, I think I've only had 2 guys on. Right?
Oh, well, yeah, I am honored to be here then. Thank you.
Yeah, you're one of an elite few, shall we say, right? and I actually have a couple more lined up, and the show's been open, too. It's just that, well, probably where I advertised, because it was in Women's Entrepreneurial, right? And then I did make that in that one podcast thing. I did make a little bit of something, but people have been kind of confusing my show. My show is really not a podcast, right? It's an actual, video online show. It's closer to a TV style show versus whatever, right? And I purposely didn't put a label on it because I'm going to use it in a lot of different avenues, right? And so I didn't want it locked into one thing, because I don't like a label, right? And I love your little motto, living without fear. Is that what you said?
No time for
fear.
No
time for fear. Yeah. I've been using this being that best you can be for years, right? For years, because every day I look at myself and I say, what can I do today to be an even better me?
Yes.
Right? Because like you said too, it all starts in here. You have no control about what's going on out there.
Right.
Whatever's going on in here, when you move out there, it's going to be what you take with you into that world, right? So it's a good time to revamp and really reevaluate the essence of who we personally are.
Yeah.
Where's our integrity? Where's our authenticity? Right? Where's our beliefs? Where's our truth? Who do we really want to be? Is that true self? Where's the facade we need to leave back here when we go out there? Right? And some of these fears of, wow, people aren't going to like me, I think that little thing is going to disappear, because everybody's going to be so inundated with just wanting to go out there and hug everybody and see everybody and like, wow, then all that other crap is going to be left behind, right? So
that'll be great if it does.
Were you my enemy? I don't know. I don't remember, but give me a hug,
Right.
Right. So it'll be an interesting time.
Yeah.
Right? It definitely be an interesting time. So
it's going to be different. We're not going to have normal as we did.
Oh, that is for sure.
Yeah, there's no question about that. But the biggest thing is, how do we thrive in it? Yes. That's the biggest thing, is because the human race has done an amazing job of overcoming diversity in so many different aspects, so many different ways. And that's what we've been known for. Now, I do hope that this causes a better coming together that we've tended to lose. We've kind of lost over the last decade or so, that I hope it brings us back to become closer and more tolerant of each other.
Right. I agree on that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of angst that's been going on, and I hope that this helps pull some of that apart. Yeah. I'm a big advocate for, let's, don't sweat the small stuff. Just hang out, have a good time, and try to be nice to each other, Yeah,
because it takes a lot less energy to be filled with joy and love than it does to be filled with hate and anger and frustration.
Definitely.
This little piece of equipment is amazing.
It's a blessing and a curse.
But it has separated, a lot of us, to the degree of too much separation. So when
Yeah.
you look at what's going on now with the separation that we've had in this quarantine, isolation, whatever, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The total separation, I mean literally separation, where before
Right.
you were walking by, you might have been sitting across the table, text messaging or whatever the case may be. There was still the close involvement. There was a body there.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden now the body's not there. So hopefully we'll be more appreciative to interacting, because people do need people.
Yeah.
Right. And conversing like this, through Zooms or virtuals or Skype, whatever it is, it's great that we have this, because it's kept the face of people with each other.
Yeah.
And given some type of connecting, right? So what's going to happen on the way out? I think you're still going to see a lot more business still done through the internet. A lot of stay-at-home businesses, that were on the fence and didn't think that they could survive. If their workers weren't in the office. I think they're
Right.
realizing now that, wow, you know what, that stay-at-home mom, that single mom is really showing more production now, staying home. That, well, maybe that's a good idea. So I think we're going to see less traffic out there racing to get to those offices, right? And so that the way business is going to be done, I think, is going to really see the flux of the most of it.
Yeah, and that one is, I agree with you on that. Now, the kicker will be how people can learn to become more self-disciplined and become that predictive, because that's always been the argument. Has always been, you can't do your job from home, we don't know what you're doing, yada yada yada. And the argument is invalid in the fact of, we've just proven right now, yes, you could do your job from home.
Right.
It's valid in the standpoint of, a lot of times, and this goes back to that, I hope that we become more conscious and more driven again,
Right.
is that a lot of times on their own device they will not work. And so we need to fix that part. And I know some people just struggle from that at any standpoint. I mean, we're sitting here, we could be sitting there behind our desk doing our thing, and then the dog comes up and wants to go play. Well, okay, well, let's go play, and then all of a sudden
Right.
you're being productive again. You have to have that discipline in order to make it work. And I think this is a good test to see if people are willing to step up their game and make that happen. Because quite honestly, if the company can see the results, they don't have a problem with it. And it's actually better for them because they have less overhead.
Oh my gosh,
so
much. Yeah.
And with less overhead, that also means they can actually get more profit, and they can also afford to pay their employees more, because they don't have to pay for a big building and all the equipment and all that kind of stuff. For me personally, I work with freelancers. I don't have employees anymore. And I work completely with contract workers. It's very simple. This is the project. Here's what it is. Here's how much I'm going to pay you. Yes or no. And if they can do it and it takes them less time than what we both think it should, they're on a budget, or they're on a plus, and I'll give them more work because they're more efficient. So they therefore are going to make more money. If it takes them twice as long as it should, then that's on them, but it is how dedicated do they want to be? How efficient do they want to be? Because that's how I run my business.
Right.
Everything that I do is based on my efficiency, how I actually run things, how dedicated I am to making it succeed, and providing the best value I can for my clients in order to make the most money, because that's what entrepreneurs do, right? And so by doing that, I think that's going to hopefully that will help bring people into a point of, okay, yeah, if I do work my butt off, I can actually make some really good money here,
Right.
And so I think that that's a big plus with it. The other thing that I think is definitely going to be more is, and you brought up the fact that we have our phones, great pieces of technology. They have gotten us more connected than we've ever been in eternity. But at the same time, we are more distant. And I think that this situation has helped us bring that back into what my hope has been, which is a lot of what I do is based around that Meet Cool People. But part of Meet Cool People is not just meeting people, but actually using technology for what it was designed for, which is to make our lives easier and be more connected. So what's happening right now I have people that I haven't seen or talked to in ages. I have a friend, we've been friends for 8 or 9 years, but we have talked more in the last month than we've talked all of that time combined because of the shift and the changes. And now we're having these Zoom meetings and she's showing up every week. And I mean, this is a friend of mine and I love her to death. We've been friends for, like I said, 8, 9 years. But now we've had more conversations literally in the last 4 weeks than we had.
A lot deeper conversations
Exactly.
too, instead of just this, how's the weather type conversations, right?
Yeah. And so now we're using this technology for what it was designed for, which was to connect us better. We have things like Zoom, we have Facebook has video now, Messenger has, video calls, things like that. Skype is coming back even. It had kind of died for a bit. And now it's actually got a pretty solid following again. We have all these things, these tools that are available to us, but we kind of took them for advantage, and we would much rather, post obnoxious memes and watch cat videos. And it just it's like, okay, no, let's bring it back to having real conversation. And because, like what you said, we don't have that person sitting right next to them at the table or next to us at the table. Guess what? Now we can't ignore that person because they don't exist. They're not there.
Right.
Well, now we have to go, oh, wait a minute. I need to have that real interaction. And so, my thing has always been, put the phone away and talk to the person right in front of you. Well, now that person isn't sitting there. And do you feel something missing? Because if you do, pick up the phone and call that person, talk to them, get on a video chat with them, because now you're having a conversation. And that's what we need. And we're having a lot more of that lately, which I love.
Right. And I think it's a whole different appreciation. Right. And so again, you're going to have pros and cons as you do on everything, and but it's a reset. It's a major reset, and how we interact and who we interact with. I mean, I've had people coming out of the woodwork, like you said. It's like I hadn't talked to these people in years, and all of a sudden I'm being inundated with comments and different things, and it's like, oh wow, yeah, that's right, and so it is really kind of nice to be able to do that. And my world is on the road. I live on the road. I have been traveling since '97, and I just go wherever the wind blows me, And then all of a sudden, I'm down here in New Mexico on a bypass to another locale, just to stop by for a couple of weeks with a friend. We were going to do a couple of things while we were together with business and whatever. Well, guess what? I'm still here, you know? And so it's like, okay. But again, everything happens for a reason. We've made a lot of good hay together, shall we say. So it's been good for both our businesses and everything else. And the company's been great, which is nice. The internet, we've got high speed. So, you kind of got it all right there. But at the same time, it gives you an opportunity to step back and take a look at your life and how things were happening and where you were going and what's your priority, what's your priority. And I think coming out of this, we're going to have a little different priorities and stuff, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more forgiveness out there, and people aren't going to hold grudges as bad. You mentioned something earlier like bullying, and I think bullying goes right alongside of dumping guilt, make somebody feel guilty so they want to do it for you, or whatever. And it's like, that is so not being in authenticity. That's not having integrity, right? The conversations that I have with the interviews of the people that are on my show is, these are people that I don't know. Now, I do have an occasional people that I do know have come onto the show and stuff like that, but probably 95% of the people on the show I've never spoken to before.
Right.
Which makes it really kind of cool to be able to have that interaction, because a lot of people say, wow, you know a lot of people. It's like, I'm watching you on your shows, and it's like, I said, but I never met that person until they started the show, and they're like, what? Right. So again, it's being the real you. Yeah. Right? Hey,
it's a great opportunity to meet cool people.
Oh,
Just having a show is a
yeah.
great way to meet cool people. I mean, I had a podcast that I did years ago, and that was, quite honestly, that was the biggest reason I did it, was because it gave me a way to connect with people that I would have never met, would never even known existed before. And some of
Right.
those people have become amazing friends of mine and clients.
Right. And same here, you know, I've got several people now that we're going to joint venture with some things, which is awesome.
Nice.
And, you know, it's just like this magnet, just kind of like, boom, and you're right there. And it's like, I've known you all my life. Where have you been? You know, type of feeling. And, you know, and I always love that, you know, when you have that connection with people like that. So
Yeah.
don't think that you have to just associate with the people that are in your close parameter. You know, move yourself out of that comfort zone.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely.
don't worry about what other people think of you. Just be concerned about what you think of you, because there's billions of people in the world, and it's never gotten easier to be able to reach out in any avenue and direction for someone else to come across your path. Because I promise you, out of all the billions of people that are out there, somebody's gonna like you. Right?
Oh, definitely. And there's going to be some that don't, and that's okay.
Some will, some won't, so what? Right?
There you go.
You know, and so don't take it personal. If somebody isn't lining up the way you think they should, don't take it personal. Move on. Don't waste your time, because there's so much beauty out there in the world, and there's so many wonderful people, exciting people, and that's part of that journey on this planet of growth. I've had an opportunity to meet people from the other side of the equator, from the other side of the pond. I mean, like way almost as far on the other side of the planet as you can get.
Yep.
And then some that aren't so far away, like Montana, Nebraska, Las Vegas, you know, Portland, right? You know, so you know, it's just amazing. And you know what? People are people no matter where they are.
Right.
Right? We're all one. So let's start acting like that. Let's start bringing that synergism together and create the peace on earth that's somewhere in your cell memory. I know each and every one of you out there has that and wants it and deserves it. Right?
Love it.
Yeah. So, Eli, tell us about this book of yours. You had a couple books, right?
Yeah, we've got 2 books out. I got another one that's in the works. I've quite honestly, I've been so busy. You know, everybody keeps talking about this quarantine time. I did not get my supply of quarantine time. I've been busy like crazy.
Same here.
Yeah, but I do have a third one in the works right now. The first 2 books are marketing tidbits, and the second one is networking tidbits. Networking tidbits is a little bit more of my personal baby. First one I wrote with my partner, and it's all marketing stuff, and it's designed to be tidbits. It is designed to be literally pick it up, thumb through it, read a chapter, and go implement, go do that right there. Networking tidbits was my networking skills, the things that I learned and how I grew my first business. And I am a networker. I've got between the book to the course was networking like a rock star. I've got, I think that last I saw 1,350 some odd students signed up for it. I love connecting with people. That's how I grew my first business. That's how I've grown this business. Even though we're in a time where we're not having as many face-to-face meetings, networking is still networking. It doesn't matter if they happen to be at the local chamber of commerce or on a Zoom call with somebody across the globe. It doesn't matter. It's still about connecting with other people and building a relationship first. And so the networking tidbits book, that's where that really comes into play, is the tips and tricks and resources that I use that helped me grow my business that way. And then the third one is, it's going to be a lot of fun. This one, I got it all mapped out. I got it ready. I just got to stop and take the time to actually write it. And this is automate, delegate, and delete.
Ooh.
Yes.
Say that again. I like that.
Automate, delegate, and delete.
Wow.
And so we have.
That is. We got to stop with that. We got to talk on that a little bit. You know, you really trigger some things in here. You know, when you say automate, automate is what helps make your life easier, right?
Yes.
Right.
That's what technology is there for. It's what can we do to use the software and the tools and what is on our phone, and you know, all these wonderful things we have out there that all talk to each other to save us time, to give us back our time. Because the time is the one thing that literally we have 24 hours in a day. We cannot have more than 24 hours a day. And the only thing we can do is buy back time that we've wasted doing other things. And automation gives us a tool to be able to do that. Great example. Somebody books a call with me. We use Acuity as the calendaring system. They can pick on the calendar, so we don't have that back and forth. What about Thursday? Thursday doesn't work. What about Friday? Well, Friday doesn't work. Friday morning works. Well, no. Well, Friday afternoon works for me. Blah blah blah. Next thing you know, you pick up the phone to have a call and figure out when you can have a call. It makes no sense, right? So I have that. So that saves us time with that. As soon as I started using a calendar, that immediately saved me 2.5 hours a week in conversation time, which means I could spend that 2.5 hours actually having real conversations or having real get together points with people. So things like that, having it software that will follow up with your prospects and your clients and stay in touch with them on an ongoing basis, not just once, not just twice, not just this month, next year, but even decades down the road. I mean, I have a machine. One campaign of mine runs for 3 years, start to finish, meaning my running joke, and my girlfriend hates it when I say this, I could go out and get hit by a bus today. I'm still going to sell you stuff 3 years from now. Using those tools. And the idea is get your time back, because time is the one thing that we only have 24 hours of.
I think what's happening right now in the world, people are starting to realize what they actually did with their time. Because now it's all here in this little square box called your home or your apartment or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, what do I do now? What do I do now? I got all this time. What do I do? What do I do? So I think we're going to be more appreciative to that time. And now even more than ever is to, like you said, animate that time so that now you can appreciate and utilize that excess. It's not really excess, right? But more constructive time to do what it is that you want to do, right? And then we move into delegate. Now, delegate is really interesting because, again, it kind of comes up here. It's like nobody can do it as good as I can, right? So it's getting over that and knowing that there's more than one way to get something done. Doesn't always have to be your way, right?
And there's a couple of different things with that. Number one is, you're right. You probably aren't going to find somebody else that can do it as well as you can. But if they can get it 80% of the way, and you just have to finish out that last 20%, you just bought back some of your time. And I always look at that. If I can get somebody to get to that 80% mark, I'm awesome. I'm happy with it. Sometimes that person is super smart and I can get them to that 100%. And I'm excited because then it's something that I can literally say, this is what I need done. Go have fun. And they just do their job. The cool thing about that is now that gives me not only the time to buy back my time, but it also gives me the ability to help support somebody else in that aspect, because I'm now giving them a job. So now we're helping the economy in that aspect. And some things are just a matter of things that you shouldn't be doing. If we're the entrepreneur, we're the CEO of our companies, we should not be doing basic bookkeeping. We should not be doing basic graphic design stuff that you can hire somebody off of Fiverr and have them go to Canva and create images for social media for you. Let them do that. That's something that they are good at, something they're better at, and you can do it inexpensively by letting them do it. And if you can spend an hour on a client and make $100, but pay an hour to somebody else for $20, that's a win, and so the more you do that, now you're helping the rest of the world, helping support other people, but at the same time, you're again buying your time back to focus on what's most important and that you love.
Well, it gives you the opportunity to be that expertise in your line of work, right? And you're giving someone else, like you said, an opportunity to show, hey, this is where my expertise lies. Let me do my job and you can do your job, right? And that's working together. That's what keeps the flow of abundance moving instead of becoming stagnant. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be an expert where you are, right?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. And then what was the third thing you said?
Delete.
Whoa.
Yes.
I have one of those on my computer over here.
Yeah.
I use it too.
And that's the thing. The next step of the thing is that you automate what you can, delegate what you can't, and delete the stuff you just shouldn't be doing anyway. We try to do too much, especially as entrepreneurs. We think we can do it all. Everything's a great idea. There's 1,001 different ways we can market our businesses, and we try to do all of them and end up not doing any of them very well. So let's simplify it down. If you can find 2 or 3 things that work really well for you, stick with those things. Do more of less things. Delete the extra stuff. Learn to say no. That's one of the hardest things. I was just having a conversation with somebody last night, and he said he used to go off on, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and I'm just, my head hurts. I mean, I had a migraine just thinking about everything he's doing, and I'm a busy guy, but I'm just like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I need to learn how to say no. I said, you're right, you do. You know, we need to delete the stuff that's not serving us. And sometimes that's hard because we're doing things that we think are working. We things that we're told are the thing we have to do over and over and over again because that's what's going to make us successful. And a lot of times that's not necessarily the right thing. It may not be the right, it may be the right thing for somebody else, the person who said that, but it may not be the right thing for you. And so it's better to give it a good go, give it an understanding, and then stop and go, okay, this is not serving me well right now. And my time could be better used doing this over there instead. And most of the time it's stuff you're already doing. So now, instead of spending your time, if you think about how much, you say you have 10 projects and you're trying to do all 10 projects at once, that means that each project is only getting 10% of your efforts.
And then you wonder why they don't work, right?
And then you wonder why they don't work. Yeah. Now, if you can eliminate a bunch of those and move it to the point where you are giving it, 50 or, even a 30 or 40% versus that 10%, now you're going to start seeing some momentum. And, from a marketing standpoint, because I am a marketer at heart, I always look at things. I can be doing 10 different things and I'll go through and I'll look at the numbers. I'm like, okay, I've been doing the same thing over and over again for the last year. And I made a whole $700. That was not a good use of my time. And I'm gonna, it's like, gotta go, bye.
Delete that one, right?
Exactly. And sometimes we're stubborn. We stick with it way longer than we should, and we know better. But the goal would be to do more of less. And when you do that, you'll get better results.
Getting your priorities straight too.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes, like you say, when you've got numerous projects or ideas, and you're putting them down, it's time to go back and chronologically look at those. Are any of these an asset of one another where we can combine and make a better? If not, and if it's going to take a lot of time and effort, then maybe you shouldn't even be thinking about it. Is it a priority? Where's your priority? What's going to make you money first?
Yeah.
Right?
I always look at that. I look at the things that I'm working on, the things that are coming up, and I do this with my clients as well. We make a list and we score them. We score them, give them a grade, an A through F, and figure out, okay, how much time is it going to take? How much investment is it going to take? And what's the ROI? Right. And we rate those 3 things, and that's how we determine where do we start. And sometimes we're going to look at something and it's like, it sounds like a great idea, but it's going to take a ton of time. It's going to take a bunch of money to get involved with, and the return isn't going to really be that much. It's like, it sounds like a great idea, but if you really look at it, it's not worth it.
Well, sometimes too, by the time you get to it after you've invested all of that, it's so outdated that it's like, well,
wasn't worth it anyway.
That, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's where the delete comes in. Learn to say no. Learn to get rid of the extra fluff that you don't need, because sometimes, especially when we're working for ourselves, we do a lot of this busy work. We do the hamster.
Gosh. Yeah,
we're the hamster on the wheel, and we're doing a bunch of stuff that really is not moving the needle forward. We're not serving our clients properly, and we're definitely not growing the business and serving the people the right way.
Right, and we're also doing an injustice to ourselves.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
So, and sometimes, we may have all this beautiful thing inside of ourselves that, it should be something everybody else wants, but they don't. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, whoa. sometimes that can be a real punch in the gut, you know, and it's like,
Hmm.
wow, am I the only one, you know? And it's like, well, then I guess I make that my own personal thing and do it when I have my own time. And okay, so what is it that you want out there that I can offer, right?
Yeah.
And so it's part of that growing process, you know, and everything changes, and you've
Yeah.
got to change with it, you know. And just like the technology, it's changing. And now technology, just in these last 4 to 6 weeks, has just exploded, just totally
Hmm.
exploded. I mean, there's so many things coming across the internet right now, and different ways of communication. It make your head spin, right? It's like, oh, which
Oh
one do
yeah,
I go?
definitely.
You know, you talk about these, shiny objects, grabbing this and grabbing that, which take you off the path
Hmm.
of your flow, right? Of
Yeah.
where you should be taking your concentration, and that comes to that discipline too, for working
Hmm.
at home. And I think women are probably a little more susceptible to get lost in it because it's that nurturing thing,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, I'm gonna wring that kid's head. I told her, take your dishes and always put them in the dishwasher, and it's like, you know what I'm saying, right? Oh man, there's
Right.
another load of laundry. I'll do that on my way to the office. And there's so much of that. So to have that self discipline, and it's like you almost have to put yourself on a time clock when you're
Hmm.
working from home if
You
it's
do.
something new, and literally get yourself a time clock or a time card. Punch in, punch out. Went in at this
Hmm.
time, did this, da 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 da, and reevaluate your day.
Yeah.
Was I productive today? Did I get everything done? Get your check, 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 check. Before you go
Hmm.
to bed, get all the crap out of here of what you're going to do tomorrow.
Yes.
Then get a good night's sleep. Now you got a clear brain. You get up and you take a look at that and you're like, I was going to do that? Screw that. It's like, well, that looks like,
Yeah.
yeah, take that off too, right?
Right.
And
Well, and
you'll be
that's
amazed at how much time you save.
yeah, and the cool thing about that too is that that's also a great way to see how productive you really are
Yeah.
for two different aspects. Number one, tracking your time is huge because then you can actually see where you're actually spending your time. A
Right.
lot of times we think, well, I spent all day working on this particular project, and you find out, no, you didn't. You actually spent about an hour on it. The rest of the time you were on Facebook, you made a couple of phone calls, you were playing with the dog. When you actually figure it out, you're like, okay, my 8 hour day was actually two.
Right.
And that's one piece, but also as you're going through, literally write down every little thing that you do, and if it's a task, especially that's business related, check it off or cross it off or whatever. Because I found at one point, I got years ago, when I developed this, I was getting really depressed because I would get beat myself up for, I only had three things on my list to do, and I only got one of those three things done. I obviously wasn't working hard enough, and I kept working harder and harder and harder to the point where it was killing me, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally stopped and I started, okay, no, I'm going to put everything on the list. And so if I had an interruption, and especially if it was a business interruption, maybe somebody did call me, so maybe somebody did send me an email that was actually
Right.
important email, and I would go, okay, I replied back to this person, I called this person, and I wrote it all down. And one day, out of the three things that were these are the things Eli needs to do today, I had only gotten one done, but I had over 30 things on that list.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, now
I
I
guess I
know
did more than what. Yeah.
I did more. Now, then the next step with this is to go back and look at it and go, okay, were these things that were actually productive, and are they moving the needle in the right direction? Now, that's where the delete comes back in. So I had this list of 30 things, and I realized that I actually had accomplished more than I had realized I had. But then I go through and I look at the list and I figure out, now wait a minute, there's a couple of these things. I keep doing them. I keep doing them over and over again. I've done them for the last, 3-6 months, and they're just not getting me the results that I would like.
Right.
And because of that, they're like, okay, you know what? I need to stop and review that. And that's where I start deleting stuff. I start getting rid of some of those things. And when you do that, what ends up happening is you start realizing you have spent a lot of time on the things that you didn't really need to do, and they weren't
Right.
as valuable as you had thought they were to begin with.
And not only is it just the things that you're doing, it's also people in your life, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you have to delete people in your life right?
Yes.
And
Sometimes we have to
that
delete people.
sometimes that can be, putting you on the edge of things. But again, if these are people that are putting you down, people that are
Mhm.
holding you back, then are they doing you a favor?
Right.
Or are they keeping you
Yeah. And
from
that's,
succeeding?
yeah.
What's more important to you?
And that's
That's right.
right. That's a key one right there is you have to determine how much are you willing to tolerate it. And like for me personally, one of the things I will do is I will then just remove myself from the situation as much as I can. And sometimes you'll have friends or family that you love them as that piece, but they're not supporting you in other areas. So you limit it or you focus it on, focus that relationship on certain things.
Right.
You focus the conversations in things that you do have in common. I have friends like I'm an archer, so I go out and I shoot my bow and arrow because I'm a longbow guy. That's my hobby. That's what I enjoy. But I have people that have very different beliefs on politics and religion and even how business should be ran and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's not have those conversations. Let's talk about archery because we can talk about that and we can
Right.
have fun with that. And
Right.
so
Right.
you have to, put that, put a stomp on it and go, we can be friends as long as we talk about these things and not those things.
Right. And and again, sometimes it's sometimes you can tell their story better than they can tell their story, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we live in a world of duality,
Yeah.
and the negativeness overpowers, overabundantizes, shall we say, the positive things. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it's the longer you keep repeating those things, it's what you focus on is what you get,
Yes.
right? So if you're going to focus on the fear, if you're going to focus on everything that's going wrong, you'll never have anything going right in your life. And so
Exactly.
when you have your circle of acquaintances and that's what you hear in all the conversations, that's where you're spending your time, what is that energy doing to you personally? And so
Yeah.
it's
It's
up to
it's
you to
beating you up.
remove. Oh gosh, you've got to remove yourself from that.
Yeah.
And if it's a family member or a friend, right, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it a little bit tougher. But again, it's setting those boundaries. And you're not doing them a favor either, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're going to have a serious thought. I'm having this conversation with you because I care about you, because I love you. But you know what? I'm done. I'm
Yep.
done. So these are
And
some of the things and the boundaries that I'm setting. Now, if you want to come play the game by my rules this time, hey. And I've
yeah.
had a lot of people tell me, say, oh my God, I didn't realize. But you're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about being right, it's about paying attention with
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in life and helping that other person help themselves. Because sometimes you're so deep into it that you don't really realize that there's another way out. It's that predictable, uncomfortable comfort zone,
Yep.
right?
No, I
And
get it.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, Eli, this has been such a treat having you here. Well, Dylan had to pick another time
Yeah.
and bring you back. It's been great. And gosh,
Oh,
you
this
guys
has
out
been
there,
awesome.
you've loved what this guy has said. Comment below. Let's reach out to him. I'm going to put your book page up here again and share with everybody where they can get your book
Okay.
if they want it.
Just go to Amazon. It's an easy way. Again, it's Networking Tidbits or Marketing Tidbits are the two books. Networking Tidbits is, like I said, my personal favorite one from that aspect. Easy to find. Connect with me online. I am super, super easy to talk to. Just shoot me a message and say you heard me on Beverly's show. That's really important, though. If you want to reach out to people, you want to meet cool people, put context in it. Don't just say, hey, friend request. Don't just do that. Go above and beyond and say, I heard you here or I met you here. I would love to connect with you more because most of us are actually quite approachable. And I know for me, that's a personal thing with me. I'd love to have a chat with you.
Right.
And I want to say something real quick because we had a little bit of a glitch on this. This is where technology comes into play. So we're having our conversation. Power went
That's right.
completely out in the middle of this conversation. So you're noticing that the camera is weird, the audio is different, all that kind of stuff. This is where technology comes into play because the power is still out. I am on my laptop and I have a MiFi on my phone, and that's how I got reconnected to finish this up. That's using technology for what it was designed for. It helps get us reconnected when we need to in that situation. And I'm happy that I was able to jump back in and we could actually finish this interview.
Yes. Yes. There's a little crackling going on. Again, that's technology, but you work
Hmm.
through it, right? So when you look
Yes,
at these little glitches in technology, we have glitches in life, right? We have
hmm,
glitches in life.
most
Like
definitely.
yesterday, it didn't matter what I did yesterday. Everything was going to be a challenge. It's like, are you kidding? This should not be, but okay. So, all right, universe, boom. Well, I conquered that one, and then the next one, I conquered that one, and then the next one came, and I conquered that one. And it's like, seriously, what is going on? Is this a test, right? And then I actually jumped on a networking event, and it was a lot of fun. I met some really great people, and then they had some giveaways, right? And
Hmm.
one of the things that they were giving away was this app that would connect you, like really connect you all over the place and everything. It's like, whoa, that's what I need in my business. Okay, I'm the next number, right? So it's the last four numbers of your phone number, right? Because it was a random drawing, right? It's like, okay, it's 2199, right?
Right.
And then he goes, okay. And he's spinning this little thing, and then he pushes the button, right? And he turns it around, and he says, okay, 2199. I'm like, that's me. Right? That was $1,000
That's awesome.
repay. Okay, so the program was $1,000, and I looked at it as being the universe saying, hey, you did a good job. You conquered that. You conquered that. You conquered that. You didn't give up. You didn't.
Yep.
You didn't. Piss and moan about it. Whatever. You just dived in and did it. And so here's your reward. It's like, so things like that do happen. Don't get
Yeah.
stuck in the small stuff.
No, definitely. And coming from a technology guy from the geeky side, technology will break. It's
Oh,
going to happen.
it's going
No
to
ifs, ands,
happen.
and buts about it.
Yeah,
But how you deal with it makes the world of difference.
that's right.
I'll share a quick little story on this one because I think it'll be relevant in the situation. I had a client of mine who had been just brand new to doing webinars, and I was kind of coaching her through how to run the software and how to set things up and how to run a great event. And she had one of her very first events, and all of a sudden, her technology died. The software just had a glitch, and I don't remember what it was now, but it was funny because she was really heartbroken about it. But then the day after it happened, I had a webinar, and she attended that webinar. And in the middle of it, we had an internet outage that happened. Now, this is several years ago. I've been pretty lucky. Things haven't happened. Of course, it happens today, right?
Right.
But all of a sudden, the software, the internet went out in the middle of my webinar. And I'm just like, well, I do the best I can. We messaged everybody, letting them know, hey, sorry, this is what's going on, because I have my MiFi, but it wasn't enough at the time. It wasn't enough to connect back in. And she emails me the next day and she goes, I have to say that I feel really bad about this, but the fact that your webinar blew up makes me feel much better about my webinar blowing up. And I was like, reality is,
Like,
if
oh,
nothing
thank you
else,
very much.
if nothing else, I'm okay with that, because now you learned something new. You learned that technology does happen. It does happen.
Right.
And
As it is right now, technology is having a little difficulty here with Eli. He's freezing up again. But it's things like that happen in real life, not just in technology, right? And so it's how you flow with
Definitely.
that. Yeah. The first show that we did, because we were testing the waters and stuff too, and my partner, because a lot of this technology things that we did, because we hooked a lot of programs together, and he's the tech guy. So he was going to run all that behind the scenes for me for the first couple of weeks. And he didn't have high-speed internet. But, again, you don't know what you don't know until you try it. Well, we ended up with a half a show. Right?
Yeah.
Which was fine. So after the fact, he goes, okay, so now you got to run everything from your side. It's like, oh, so that means now I got to learn every one of these programs, right? And it's like, okay, I'm game. So
Yep.
I can do this, right? I'm not gonna let anything stop me, especially this silly little program. I can do this. Just give me the steps. Give me the steps, right? And again, it's that mindset. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. And it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. It doesn't matter. if you have determination and you have drive and you don't lose focus on the outcome, you will get everything that you want. But know what your focus is, because if you focus on what you don't want, guess what? You're going to get more of that. Right?
Exactly.
So, oh gosh, Eli, we definitely have to have you back. It's been such an honor and a pleasure. And
anytime.
Working through all of this and seeing how everything in your business life can actually move over into your personal life, because it is one. It really is one. And we are one in the world. And it's just a lovely place to be. It's an adventurous place to be, whether you're on the planet or out of space or whatever that little purple stuff is behind you, which is really cool, by the way. All right?
Thank you.
So wherever it is that you're on the planet today, it's time for you to go out there and be that best you that you can be. Well, why? Because Eli and I are going to be the best we that we can be. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you on the next show.
Thank you so much. What?